A routine call to help a stranded motorist led to the mysterious disappearance of a beloved mechanic and family man. On May 27, 1999, Dale Williams left his auto body shop in Nucla, Colorado, to lend a hand to someone in need, but he never returned. Days of desperate searching would uncover only his abandoned truck in a muddy river, but the arrest would only happen over 2 decades later. Dale Dwayne Williams entered the world on July 15, 1956, in the small town of Nucla, Colorado, where he would spend his entire life building a family, a career, and a reputation. As he entered adulthood, Dale became a skilled auto technician and entrepreneur. He opened Dale's Pro Body Shop, an auto body repair business that quickly became a fixture in Nucla. He also diversified his entrepreneurial pursuits by venturing into other businesses. He owned Showtime movie rentals and invested in several buildings. On the evening of May 27, 1999, when Dale did not make it home for dinner, his wife Diana, to whom he had been married for 23 years, assumed he was simply busy. Accustomed to the long hours Dale often spent at his body shop, Diana imagined he was probably preoccupied with a repair and had not noticed the time. As night deepened and she prepared for bed, however, concern started to gnaw at her. Dale had always been diligent about calling home if he would be late, and tonight he had not checked in. Unsettled, she called the shop phone a few times, but there was no response. She tried to rationalize his silence, thinking that he must not have heard the phone ring over the noise of the air ratchets or other heavy equipment. As 10 p.m. approached, Diana reluctantly went to bed, trying to ignore the creeping sense of unease. At dawn, Diana's worst fears intensified as she saw that Dale still had not returned. She immediately set about getting their children ready for school. The moment the children were safely off to school, she drove straight to Dale's auto shop. When she arrived, she looked around the shop, but he was nowhere to be found. Diana then went to the home of Dale's mother, Ida, hoping he might have checked in there at some point. Ida, too, had heard nothing from Dale and shared Diana's growing worry. Together, they decided to start looking around the town, first stopping by nearby junkyards where Dale might have gone in search of parts. As they scoured the familiar spots, the reality began to sink in. It was not like Dale to simply disappear without informing anyone, especially with his daughter's high school graduation just days away. They contacted the authorities and they pieced together his activities on May 27th, beginning with his brief visit to the office of his friend, Tammy Lawrence, around approximately 12:15 p.m. that day. Tammy recalled that Dale had stopped by to inform her that he would not be able to repair the windshield on her truck until the following Wednesday. This visit struck her as unusual since Dale could easily have conveyed this message over the phone instead of stopping by in person. Even more unusual was that he seemed focused on his next task, helping a stranded motorist. Tammy remembered Dale mentioning that he was headed out to assist someone whose car had broken down, and she could not shake a lingering feeling of unease about the encounter. She wondered if Dale himself had felt uneasy about the motorist he was going to help. The brief exchange was the last time she saw him. After Dale left her office, he vanished without a trace, and no one else reported seeing him alive again. Further inquiry revealed that Dale's friend, Pastor Tom Ross, had been with him shortly before his visit to Tammy. Tom and his young son had stopped by Dale's Pro Body Shop earlier that morning to get the windshield on the church van repaired. Even though Dale had mentioned that he had a full schedule that day, he still managed to make time for a quick game of darts with Tom. During their game, the shop phone rang, interrupting their casual conversation. Dale took the call, and Tom later recounted that the caller told Dale that they were stranded on a remote stretch of highway about 3/4 of a mile east of a small country store in Bedrock, Colorado. According to Tom, Dale seemed focused and serious as he spoke with the caller, whom Tom believed to be a woman. Although Dale initially offered to bring his tow truck, the caller declined and insisted that the issue was minor, possibly just requiring a jump start. This struck Tom as slightly odd, considering Dale's shop specialized in auto body repair rather than mechanical work. However, Dale was known for his willingness to lend a hand, so it was not unusual for him to respond to a request for assistance. After the call ended, Dale told Tom he would head out soon and said goodbye to his friend and his son at the shop door. Tom later recounted that Dale seemed focused but calm as he left. Dale climbed into his pickup truck and drove off to assist the motorist, unaware that it would be the last time anyone would see him. Investigators noted this moment as critical in their timeline, suspecting that the mysterious caller's identity could hold the key to understanding what happened. A few days after Diana posted missing person flyers for Dale at the Nucla post office, she was alarmed to find that they had all mysteriously disappeared. Unfazed, she put up new posters, only to have them vanish again within another 2 or 3 days. Troubled by the pattern, Diana alerted the police, who decided to set up a hidden camera inside the post office to monitor any further removal attempts. In a matter of weeks, the camera captured shocking footage. A man was caught on tape tearing down the posters. The person in the footage was none other than a former close friend of Dale and Diana. When the police brought the man in for questioning, he denied having anything to do with Dale's vanishing and provided an alibi for May 27th, the day Dale went missing. The authorities were able to substantiate most of his alibi, yet the man's motives remained suspicious. About a year before Dale's disappearance, Diana and Dale had assisted the man's ex-wife in moving out of state without informing him, sparking considerable anger on his part. The couple kept her whereabouts a secret, which only heightened the man's animosity, particularly toward Dale. Diana believed that this lingering resentment could have been a factor in his apparent hostility, including his efforts to repeatedly remove the missing posters. About a month after the man's ex-wife relocated, Dale discovered disturbing signs of trespass and theft at his body shop. Outside his shop, he found torn-up photographs littering the ground, photos that had been stolen from within his business. Soon afterward, he discovered that a handgun had also been taken from his shop. Although Diana felt unsettled and feared this could be connected to their friend's anger, Dale tried to reassure her, insisting that things would settle down. The police investigated the former friend regarding the thefts, but he denied any involvement and maintained his innocence in relation to both the burglary and Dale's disappearance. The mystery deepened more than a month later, on July 4th, 1999, when a family enjoying a swim at the confluence of the San Miguel and Dolores Rivers in Unaweep Canyon, Colorado, stumbled upon Dale's white 1994 Ford F-250 pickup truck submerged in the murky water. The Montrose County Sheriff's Department quickly responded, hoping this discovery might offer clues or evidence that could help resolve the case. However, when they examined the truck, they found no other sign of Dale, no personal belongings or other traces that could reveal where he had gone or what had happened to him. Upon examining photos of the recovered truck, Diana became convinced that someone other than Dale had last driven it. She noted that the driver's side window was partially rolled down, an unusual detail. Dale had a habit of driving with his window either fully down or up, but never partially open. This small, unsettling detail convinced Diana that someone else had been behind the wheel. Investigators expanded their search, deploying dive teams to scour the waters near where the truck had been found and examining nearby abandoned mines. Despite extensive efforts, neither Dale nor any additional evidence was discovered. For years, the case remained cold, but his daughters never gave up hope. They used social media platforms to draw attention back to his disappearance, and their efforts eventually prompted renewed interest from authorities. In May 2019, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation made a public plea for help, specifically seeking any information about the unidentified caller who had contacted Dale on the day he vanished. This renewed attention led to a further reopening of the case. In September 2023, they launched a new inquiry, signaling a shift in the investigation. A month later, in October 2023, the Montrose County Sheriff's Office and the CBI acted on a tip and searched a residence in Nucla after receiving information that Dale's body might be buried on the property. However, it is unknown whether anything of significance was found during the search. On October 17, 2024, 68-year-old Dan Bishop, the former friend of Dale, was arrested and charged with first-degree slaying. Investigators believe that Bishop, in collaboration with his now-deceased cousin, Veldon Barnes, and Barnes' girlfriend, who was also deceased, was responsible for planning and executing Dale's slaying. The authorities allege that Barnes' girlfriend, Debbie Lacey, had acted as a lure, calling Dale's auto shop on the day of his disappearance to request help with a stranded vehicle located about 10 miles southwest of Nucla. This revelation brought new clarity to the long unsolved case, confirming the suspicions that Bishop's personal grievances had played a central role in Dale's tragic fate. Further investigation revealed that Bishop had allegedly compensated his cousin, Veldon Barnes, with a prized Corvette in exchange for assisting in the slaying. Bishop is being held on a $1 million bond awaiting trial. It remains uncertain whether Dale's body has been recovered, as investigators have not disclosed any findings regarding its whereabouts. A simple desire for a fresh start led to a horrifying and unresolved mystery. When 51-year-old Kimberly Bell vanished from Franktown, Colorado in the summer of 2019, no one could have predicted the dark secrets that would emerge years later. With no remains recovered and chilling evidence left behind, it ultimately led to the arrest of 2 suspects. Kimberly Bell was born and raised in California in 1968 and was known as a loving daughter and sister to her family. As she entered her 50s, she made the bold decision to leave California and start a new life in Colorado. By the time she was 51 years old, she had relocated to Franktown, Colorado, where she hoped to find a fresh start away from the shadows of her past. Kimberly moved in with her sister in Franktown, and the two hoped that this new chapter would bring peace and stability to Kimberly's life. However, things began to take a troubling turn in the summer of 2019. Kimberly, who had once been dependable in her routine, suddenly began to disappear from her usual places. She stopped showing up for work, and by late July 2019, she was no longer seen around the house. Her family grew concerned, but the silence from Kimberly became more profound with each passing day. As days stretched into weeks with no word from her, Kimberly's family began to fear the worst. By August 2019, her sister officially reported Kimberly as missing. Authorities began investigating Kimberly's disappearance. Friends and family members were interviewed, and the police began to piece together what little information they had. Kimberly's case quickly gained attention, but no immediate leads emerged that could explain her sudden disappearance. There were very few leads to follow, so the case grew colder with each passing month, and the lack of tangible evidence or clear suspects made it difficult for detectives to make progress. In 2021, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office decided to turn the investigation over to the cold case team. Then, on October 15, 2024, they made a stunning announcement. 2 suspects had been arrested in connection with the slaying of Kimberly. The arrests were the result of a combination of witness statements and advanced digital forensic techniques, which played a crucial role in linking the suspects to the crime. The 2 individuals arrested were 30-year-old Javier Alex Martel and 38-year-old Jennifer Bremer. Martel and Bremer, who were previously not known to be involved in the case, were taken into custody after the investigators pieced together evidence that suggested their involvement. Digital forensic analysis, including phone records and other electronic data, had provided key insights that helped to connect the suspects to the crime. Additionally, witness statements offered critical details that further corroborated the investigators' findings. The arrest of Martel and Bremer marked a significant milestone in the case, but it also raised more questions. What had motivated the crime? How were these 2 suspects connected to Kimberly? While the arrests brought some clarity, the investigation was far from over. authorities continued to dig deeper into the suspects' backgrounds and their possible ties to Kimberly, hoping to uncover the full story behind her tragic demise. Detectives in Douglas County have pieced together a grim sequence of events detailing what they believe transpired on July 22, 2019. According to the investigation, Martell and Bremer were seen with her that day. They were with her in her rental vehicle at a Denver public transportation parking structure. It was here, according to police reports, that Martell instructed Bremer to take the wheel. As she moved into the driver's seat, Martell reportedly began choking Kimberly in the back seat, a violent assault that continued until he had taken her life. After her demise, the two suspects made several chilling moves in an attempt to cover up the crime. With Kimberly's body in the back seat, Bremer drove under Martell's direction to various locations around Denver. One of their stops included a Home Depot in Aurora, where Martell entered the store to purchase several items, including an axe. His actions were premeditated and carefully calculated, using each stop to gather materials that would aid in concealing the evidence of the slaying. Next, Bremer stopped at a gas station, once again following Martell's orders. There, she used Kimberly's credit card to refuel the vehicle, further implicating both suspects in the crime. Each move that day seemed meticulously planned, as they used Kimberly's own resources to carry out their escape plan. The credit card transaction not only provided a digital trail for investigators to follow, but also showed the suspect's disregard for Kimberly's life and dignity, using her possessions even after taking her life. With supplies in hand and their tracks partially covered, Martell and Bremer drove to a remote park where the full extent of their intentions became clear. Martell is alleged to have used the axe he purchased to dismember Kimberly's body, an act that added another horrifying layer to the crime. The dismembered remains were placed into trash bags, which Martell and Bremer then loaded into the trunk of Kimberly's rental vehicle. Following this grim task, the suspects drove further into isolation, aiming to dispose of the body parts in locations where they would be less likely to be discovered. To this day, the remains of Kimberly have never been recovered, leaving a haunting void for her family and loved ones who long for closure. While no clear explanation has been provided, court documents have revealed intriguing clues from Kimberly's internet search history, which investigators have connected to the case. Among these searches were phrases like, "take a tracking system out of a Ford Focus," and "does phone ping location if off," hinting at Kimberly's possible attempts to protect her privacy or distance herself from someone before her tragic demise. Martell, who is currently held on a $10 million bail, faces serious charges, including 2 counts of first-degree slaying. Bremer, meanwhile, has been charged with accessory to a crime and identity theft, as she was complicit in the cover-up and played a role in using Kimberly's credit card and vehicle during the crime. Unlike Martell, Bremer has been released on bond but continues to face substantial legal consequences for her involvement. An ordinary day turned into a decades-long mystery for the small community of King and Queen County, Virginia. What began as a routine visit with a friend would end in tragedy, as Jennie Lee Johnson was last seen on November 22, 1991, only for her lifeless body to be discovered the following day, and a shocking arrest only to take place 33 years later. Jennie Lee Johnson was born in 1945 as the cherished daughter of her family. Jennie spent most of her life in King and Queen County, a rural area known for its scenic beauty and small-town charm. On a seemingly ordinary day of November 22, 1991, Jennie decided to visit a friend, likely expecting nothing more than an afternoon of conversation and companionship. She had spent part of the day visiting the friend, and as she left her friend's residence, nothing appeared amiss. When Jennie did not arrive home that night, her family and friends grew concerned. Hours passed without word from her, an unusual silence that filled them with dread. Jennie's loved ones reached out to neighbors and checked familiar places, hoping that she was simply delayed. By morning, however, the realization set in that something was terribly wrong. The search came to a tragic end the following day. Early that day, Jennie's lifeless body was discovered in a field off Newtown Road, her presence stark and silent against the empty landscape. Since the discovery of her body, the Virginia State Police Bureau of Criminal Investigation's Richmond Field Office has been committed to solving Jennie's case. Investigators combed through evidence, re-examining every detail of her last hours to piece together what might have happened. They conducted interviews, gathered witness statements, and pursued leads, determined to uncover the truth about her final moments and identify those responsible. Despite years of dedicated investigation, the details surrounding Jennie's demise have remained elusive, challenging even the most seasoned detectives. A significant break in Jennie's case came decades later, the result of relentless dedication by agents at the Bureau of Criminal Investigation's Richmond Field Office and the analytical team assigned to the Criminal Intelligence Division's Unsolved Violent Crimes and Cold Cases Support Team. After years of ends and elusive answers, these determined professionals committed themselves to reviewing every piece of evidence with fresh eyes and advanced techniques. The case had weighed heavily on their minds, and they were determined to finally uncover the truth about what happened to Jennie all those years ago. Critical support for the investigation came from the Virginia Assault Kit Initiative, a program led by the Office of Attorney General Jason S. Miyares. This initiative provided essential funding for the advanced retesting of evidence, ensuring that crucial samples, previously examined with older technology, could be reanalyzed with today's more precise methods. The retesting process was entrusted to DNA Labs International. They have built a reputation for handling cold case evidence with the utmost precision, making them a trusted choice for complex investigations. Using advanced DNA technology, the experts at DNA Labs examined every sample carefully, processing items of evidence that had been stored for decades, but were never subjected to the kind of analysis now available. This reanalysis marked a pivotal moment in the investigation, as the analysts at DNA Labs International uncovered forensic clues that previous tests had missed. By applying cutting-edge DNA sequencing techniques, they were able to extract information from samples that had once seemed inconclusive. The newfound data allowed investigators to piece together details that had previously been obscured, potentially identifying connections to individuals linked to Jennie's final moments. It was a breakthrough long awaited by everyone involved in the case. As these new findings emerged, they were immediately communicated back to the team at the BCI Richmond Field Office. The analysts and investigators reviewed the new evidence with intensity, analyzing how these revelations fit within the existing puzzle of Jennie's case. Each detail brought them closer to understanding what happened that tragic night in November 1991. On October 10th, 2024, after 33 years of investigation and renewed forensic efforts, Virginia State Police agents arrested 62-year-old Ives T. Fortune of Tappahannock, Virginia. The arrest followed a grand jury indictment, charging Fortune with the assault and malicious wounding of Jennie. Following his arrest, Fortune was taken into custody at the Middle Peninsula Regional Security Center, where he awaited his court proceedings. On October 23, 2024, in the King and Queen Circuit Court, Fortune was released on bond. His next hearing is scheduled for end of November. A World War II veteran who became a milkman after facing the horrors of the Battle of the Bulge and the liberation of 2 concentration camps, was found lying next to his milk truck, shot execution style. His perpetrator eluded justice for more than 50 years. Hiram Ross Grayam had become a milkman after returning to Indian River County after serving in the war in Europe. He was delivering milk in Florida on April 11, 1968, when he failed to return home after work. The police launched a search for Hiram. His body and milk truck were spotted from a plane deep in the woods. He was shot several times. Sheriff Eric Flowers said he was shot execution style and described the scene as chilling. A witness told the police that she saw Hiram talking to two men who were walking on the side of the road. She said Hiram engaged them in conversation and announced that he would be back shortly. The three men all left in the milk truck. Despite exhaustive efforts, his perpetrator eluded justice and the case went cold for 38 years. It was an interview that Hiram's son, Larry Grayam, gave to a local media outlet in 2006 that saw the case regain momentum. It was also the first time that investigators really got information about a suspect being potentially involved in the case. Thomas Williams wrote a letter to the editor of the newspaper after he saw the coverage that was happening, saying that he had been accused of the slaying, but he denied having knowledge of it, that he was not involved in it. The trail went cold again, and in 2016, Thomas passed away. In February 2022, Thomas came back on the radar after an inmate at Indian River County Jail, who at the time was said to be related to Thomas, told the detectives that he confessed to him that he ended the life of the milkman back in 1968. Then, in December 2023, detectives spoke with a woman in Miami who had been married to Thomas. The woman did not know this other family member and has never spoken to him. She told the detectives the same thing. In April 2024, Detective Flowers said, which ultimately gives us two independent witnesses who both say that this guy confessed to slaying the milkman to them. Detective Flowers noted that the two witnesses were only willing to speak because Thomas Williams was no longer alive. The witnesses considered him to be a threat to them, but now that he has passed away, they had the courage to speak up. Hiram's son, Larry, called the announcement bittersweet, saying that he was very pleased that the case can be closed. Hiram was remembered as a beloved milkman and a decorated veteran who was awarded a Purple Heart.